What's going on YouTube? It's your boy RJ, and today we got the problem with friends in Gen Z by North. I don't know. Y'all see the title, y'all already know what it is. Y'all already know the vibes. If I hit this play button, leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Turn on the post notification bell, all that. But yeah, without further ado, we finna get straight into this.
Man, I am so lonely.
Son, are you alright?
Why does nobody care about me?
You guys ever notice how older people seem to have no issue talking to others? You know, like that old person in line who just talks and yaps all the time, as much as they like. There's a bit of charm to that, you know, kind of like reminiscent of older times when people just like spoke to everyone. Now, why is it that my entire generation seems to lack basic social skills? I don't say this to like trash on anyone, but like it's just a genuine question as to why. It's like you go up to someone to try to start a conversation with them, and they almost look terrified at you, like, what? Someone is speaking to me. What? You know, an entire generation of socially anxious people. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, I kind of am like that too. Sometimes I'm super scared to just go up and talk to people because some of you guys are scary. I feel like if I go up to you, I'm gonna end up being the topic for the next day in whatever group chat you're in. It's almost like you look at these older people and you just wonder, like, how do you have all this confidence to just go up to someone and talk to them without any fear of anything, without any fear of rejection or just being seen as weird? You guys remember when we were younger? When you were younger, when you were like 4 years old or something, you just had the confidence of literally anyone. You just go up to anyone, anything, any girl, and you're like, yes, hello, it is me. I am here to speak to you today. And then it works out because they're also in the same mindset. So then you end up being friends. Bam, boom, new friend for you. Because I saw a post the other day. I don't know where it was. It's probably on Instagram. I'll see if I can find it because it was an image. If I can't, then oh well. But pretty much, it was like, I aspire to have the confidence of a 4-year-old wearing a Batman t-shirt. And that's pretty much what it seems like when you observe other people like having conversations. I sound so weird. When you observe other people doing basic human interaction. Oh my gosh, what have I come to? Because for whatever reason, there's more and more people that are just alone. More alone than ever. How is it that you are surrounded by people? You are surrounded by everyone. You know, you're in high school, you're in the workforce, you're in college.
The reason, bro, honestly, bro, the reason it is nowadays is because my generation is just simply they're just like, even me sometimes. Well, I try not to be that way. But simply the reason is this generation is just super antisocial. They just don't know how to hold a conversation with nobody. They don't know how to talk to nobody. None of that. And then they just always on their phones. Like, I admit, as I got older, I'm trying to do a thing where I stop being on my phone so much. I barely got on my phone today. Like, it's already, like, hold on. It's already 12. I woke up around at least 9 or 10 something, and I've barely been on my phone today at all. I mean, I know that's not that big of a leap, but it's like, bro, you can't even get interactions out of girls nowadays. And I'll talk about it some more.
College even. You're surrounded by people nonstop. So why is it that you're alone? But it's not just you. It's many other people. There's so many other people that are just alone now for whatever reason. You know, they have a loving family. They have family members that genuinely care about them. But yet every single day when they go to bed at night, they can't help but feel this sense of loneliness. Like no one else is there for them. No one else cares. So the reason why you feel this way at night, as if no one cares about you. Okay, this is gonna sound really crazy, but bear with me here. Is because you're right. No one actually cares about you, nor do you actually care about anyone else. So let me explain. So whenever one of your friends or acquaintances tells you about a problem that they're having, for example, maybe trying to find a job, sure, you'll feel bad for them in the moment and you will sympathize with them because, you know, it's your friend, that's what you do. But when you go to sleep at night, you aren't thinking about that problem that they're having, are you? Of course not, because you're too concerned about your own life to care about anyone else. Because we as humans are just naturally selfish. That doesn't make you a bad person because that's just how our brains work. Unless you take it to some extremes on purpose, then alright, that's different. But for example, when you're in school studying for a test, you aren't thinking about how everyone else is going to do. You're only concerned about whether you pass the test or not. Then when it's done and you have your final score, that's when you ask, hey, how did you do on the test? Partly because you're curious about how everyone else did, because you want to compare their score to yours. And you want to know You want to know something? There is some slight truth to that. As controversial as
Yeah,
it sounds,
that's
I believe there
understandable.
is some slight truth to that. You know, how you're surrounded by everyone, but yet you feel more alone than ever. You know, in a generation where we are more connected than ever, there has never been a time in history to where you can have this simple device in your hand at any time. You can pull it out anytime, anywhere, whenever the heck you want, and send a message to anyone on this planet. Literally anyone. Whether it's a celebrity or your mom or your friend or, I don't know, your online friend across the country. So how is it that we have this ability? We have this ability to message literally anyone and anything, but yet we're so alone. We're more alone than ever. It seems like no one can even have, you know, the basic skills of holding a conversation now. And I struggle with this too. Sometimes I'm like terrified to go up and speak to someone. Why? Why am I afraid to go and speak to this person that's like 40 pounds lighter than me? But there may be a reason why you struggle with getting friends. You know, it might be your appearance. Because, you know, pretty privilege is a real thing. You know, if you're more attractive, you know, it's a lot easier for people to, you know, make connections and make long-term lasting effects on things. And, you know, if you go up to people looking like a freaking checkerboard, then yeah, it's probably not going to look good on you. Damn, this guy doesn't take care of himself. Like, what is this? And that's why I'm proud to announce today's sponsor, Teach Hanley. Guys, I know, I'm just that good. You know, they keep coming back for more.
Living with opioid addiction can be a struggle,
My fault,
trapped
yo.
in a cycle of
My fault, y'all. Hold on. Let me skip this ad.
And once again, thank you Teach Hanley for sponsoring this video. But of course, making friends isn't all about looks. That's not how it always is. That's not how friendships work. If you're just really funny, then you can just make friends, you know? You ever see the average male friend group? Because we don't care. It doesn't matter to us. If you're one of the boys, you're one of the boys.
Guys, this is Miranda. She's one of the boys.
That's just how things are. But you know, some people just aren't some of the boys. And that really sucks because, you know, some people, that's like their only friend group at all. That's their only friend group because they're so socially anxious to talk to anyone else. So then you end up getting fake friends. And the fake friends, this has always been a thing. Fake friends have been a thing literally since forever. It seems that now they are even more effective of doing their job of being fake and like ruining every friend group. If you don't know what a fake friend is, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, believe me, I know what a fake friend is, but let's read this right here. Fake friends are people who pretend to care about you, but don't actually have your best interests at heart, also known as false friends or fair weather friends. They tend to act like friends only when it benefits them. Says, whatever, clinical psychologist at Clarity Clinic, Chicago, whatever.
That, you know, pretends to be your friend but really doesn't care at all. It's like, why are you keeping me around then if you don't care? And you know, they just somehow just infiltrate every friend group that you have. You know, friend group A and friend group B. Weirdly enough, some of these people treat it like a popularity contest of who can have the most friends. Essentially what you're doing is just building up an inactive follower base on Instagram. I personally don't see the appeal in having hundreds of fake friends. If anything, you really just have hundreds of acquaintances rather than genuine connections with other people. Because with the rise of Gen Z came a lack of empathy with it, to the point to where some people think that this basic human emotion to feel empathetic towards others is something that some people just don't have or is a rare human trait, which really goes to show how messed up we are as a generation. We've been fed this narrative for so long now that some people genuinely believe that there is no good people left on this planet, which is why most people in high school just prefer to stay in their close-knit friend groups in high school or college because they already know them so well, and it's scary enough having to go talk to new people. But, you know, you have all these friends in school, you know, especially in high school. You know, a lot of the time, this even happened to me too. When you graduate, especially if you're going your own path, is that everyone just kind of vanishes, like they just disappear off the face of the earth. So as a
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
School and everyone I knew disappearing into college, especially if it's a lot of people, you know, that you were friends with, but you didn't really like them. But the only reason you were friends with them was just because you didn't want to cause drama in the school. But then when that's gone, you know, after you graduate, you know, you go into the workforce, you go to college. Yes, the people that you didn't like having as friends disappear, but then most of your friends, if not all of them, disappear as well. Since this generation, of course, this is not everyone, but most of this generation just lacks social skills for whatever reason. I mean, we all know why. It's no secret. I'm gonna stop beating a dead horse and just say like, oh my gosh, guys, it's social media's fault. It's all their fault. It's all their fault. Yes and no, because you gotta think of it, right? Yes, that has like a big contributing factor as to why a lot of people just lack the ability to speak to others now. You can't help but realize it's also partially our fault too. Your phone isn't physically gripping you on your face, forcing you to like stay glued to the screen. It's not doing that. It is you subconsciously picking up the phone just to scroll and do more stuff and waste more time. But it's also specifically designed to be that way. But it is also you physically doing it. So it's like, I like to think of it as just being my own fault as to why I lacked social skills in high school. Now, I'm not saying that I'm like some extrovert. I'm the social guru. I'm gonna talk to everyone. I'm gonna go up to you in public and ask you about low taper fade.
Will knee surgery affect my winter arc if low taper fade is still massive in 2025?
You know, just go up to people and ask them whatever random dumb shit ever. But there is a fix to this. You know, after graduating, how it seems like your social life just vanishes, it disappears. But you know, it's not just you experiencing this. It's not just me either. This is not an isolated incident. This is happening with everyone. And that doesn't mean it's over for you, because you know, you can make friends with your coworkers, you know, where you're forced to speak to them. Talk to people. Look at me. You know, you just can't help but feel that some people, you know, especially people like entering the workforce, like I was a few years ago, you know, you'll look at other people in there, you just can't help but realize like some of these people just lack basic social skills.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
stuff that you'd
Of course
think
they
that
do.
you know would be learned by now. Even people like in their 40s lacking these basic social skills.
Bro, it's so obvious. A lot of people nowadays are definitely, like you said already, bro. A lot of people who lack basic social skills nowadays because they simply just be glued to their phone, and they simply just, it's like people in this generation, they don't want to talk to nobody. They don't want to be social. They don't try to be social, especially girls, because I'll have a situation where I'll meet a girl, try to talk to her, try to be her friend, whatever the case may be. And then, you know, like in that first few stages, the first few months when you meet them or whatever, when you first talking to them, they like, oh yeah, you know, we cool, blah blah blah. You know, I ain't going nowhere, blah blah blah. You know, all this woot woot woot. I'm gonna be a great friend. You ain't gotta worry about me going nowhere. Then next thing you know, you don't hear from them anymore. It'd be weeks, months, years. Then you don't hear from them, and then possibly all of a sudden, then they want to just try to come back in your life. Like, no, you've been gone for a year or more, and no, you're not coming back. Get away from me.
Skills. Now, I'm not gonna say why, because we all know why. We all subconsciously know why. Because, you know, let's look at this school. Let's look at school in the early 2000s, before the phones were invented. Look at this. You notice one thing, how there's no phone in sight. And what are people doing? They're speaking to one another. They're actually holding conversations with people, and they look happier. And you could even see this over the years. This is the same thing with, you know, relationships and dating. The way they meet. The way that people meet now versus back then is obviously way different. Now, that doesn't mean it's entirely changed, because there is still people that, you know, do it the traditional way. And that way, the traditional way is way better for very obvious reasons. I can go into detail in a different video. I'm gonna show you guys how to get all the partners you want. Should I do that, guys? Should I go up to people? What would you guys think if I just approached women? If I just approached like 100 girls as a short introvert? That would be an interesting video. I might try that, guys. Might do that.
Today, I'm gonna be approaching 100 different people. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
That's pretty cool. Oh, you were killing it.
We've got passion, we've got determination.
Yeah, sure.
awesome.
But you know, with everyone having this mass social anxiety of not being able to speak to people, even when they do, why can no one hold a conversation? And it's not even like just in person too. This is over text as well. You'll DM someone and then cooking up the hottest opener, the greatest opener of all time. Wow, really interesting. Way to stand out from the rest. You know how people...
Exactly, bro. Like, I give y'all an example. Like, you can look at, like, let's say you're meeting a girl, like, you're trying to be her friend, or you're possibly trying to date her or be her boyfriend. And she's dry, and she's like, oh, you got to talk to me in order for me to open up more. Okay, cool, right? You start the conversation off for like, all right, bet, okay, cool. Tell me some things about you. Tell me things that you like. Tell me things that you don't like. And then it'll be like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like when people do that. I like this. I like this type of food. I love scary movies. I love this. I love that. right? You be like, okay, bet, cool. And then you'd be like, anything else? And then they'll be like, nah. And then they'll just sit there quietly on the phone and not say anything else. Like, dude, ask me questions. Like, ask me the same question that I've asked you, or ask me different questions, or come up with something totally different to ask me or talk to me about. Because this is a situation where you and I both are trying to get to know each other. So if I'm asking you these questions, you should either be asking me these questions back, or asking me totally different questions in order to understand, order to get to know me and my personality. And they don't do that, and then they just sit back and they just sit there like a bump on a log, like they don't know nothing. And then they ruin their friendship, and then they sit back, and then months and so later, then they sit back and they wonder why they ain't got nobody, why they don't talk to nobody. And then girls always just want to sit back and be like, oh, dudes ain't this, dudes ain't that. It's not us, it's you. It's not us, it's you.
People like 30 years ago, you know, they'd be waiting in line or something for like a concert, and then they would just turn around and start talking to people because, you know, there was nothing else to do. They couldn't go on their phone. So what else was there to do? Turn around and meet new people and talk to one another, make connections, make lifelong friends. That doesn't mean that doesn't exist at all still, because it does. It's just very few and far between now, which is kind of sad. You know, it's possible to make friends, you know, like lifelong friends that last into your 40s. You know, the people you meet in high school, and then you end up still being friends with them when you're like 40 something years old. You know, having all those crazy stories of, yeah, remember that time when we did this crazy thing together? We did all this, all that as well. Because it seems like that's disappearing now. Less and less people have, you know, friends, social groups. You know, you're surrounded by everyone. They're surrounded by many people, but yet we fear the most basic social interaction. It's not over. It is definitely still a thing. You know, you see the rise of online friends. People still have friends, but just on their phone now through a screen. Some people take this to the next level. They don't even speak to people. They just speak to a robot. But you can still make friends. It's just, in today's age, I think the way to do it is that a lot of people just go about it the wrong way. That now it's shifted. The way that we do it isn't really how it is before. Now, of course, you can still do the old method. A lot less people are doing the old method because they're too afraid now. You can just DM anyone. You can DM someone and make friends. Or, you know, you're playing a game and then, you know, you meet someone on voice chat and boom, now you're friends. And if they just so happen to live in your same city, even better. So it is definitely still possible. Friendships are not dead. It's just the way that we go about it, the way that people
most definitely it is.
In today's age is vastly different and weird, ineffective, you can say. It's not exactly the same as what it used to be. Now, of course, if you don't want to make friends that way, of course you don't have to. You can do it the old-fashioned way. You know, after graduating, if you're like me and just didn't go to college, you just went straight into the workforce, of course it's going to be harder to make friends, but it doesn't mean that it's over for you. You know, you can go out, have a life, go to social events, talk to people, get contact information, get phone numbers, talk to people, do something different, rizz up the baddies in an interesting way. Every conversation we have ever had is purely transactional. Every time we speak to someone about anything is because we want something in return, whether you realize it or not. When you ask a question, it's because you want to know something in return. When you talk to a friend, you aren't speaking to them just because you like them. You're speaking to them because you want to feel less bored. When you speak to a girl, this goes for you too, ladies. You aren't just speaking to her because you think she's attractive, though that is one reason. It's because you want their contact information. We can take this even further. Even the interactions we have that are a net negative to us, like giving money away to a homeless person. Yeah, you just donated your money to someone who was more in need, but you know what you got from that? It made you feel good. You did that action not because it was the right thing to do, but because it made you feel like a better person. Almost like trying to make up for what you've done in the past. Now, you remember what I said earlier, how I think there's some truth to how you feel that no one cares about you? That's because it is partly true. Now, I know this sounds crazy. I was like, what the heck? What is this kid talking about? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What I mean by that is a lot of actions that you see other people making in life. Why it seems like some people are more lucky than others. Why it seems like some people can just get anything they want.
This is me and my buddy Pim staying in one of the most luxurious hotels on earth for free.
Is because it starts with them. It starts with you. If you don't know what to do or where to go to meet people and make friends, TikTok actually has a good use for once other than just wasting your time. You could put things to do in your city, for example, like, I don't know, Atlanta or something, and out come an entire wave of results for fun things and places to go that you've never heard of. It starts with you doing something. You know, like I said,
Yeah, it definitely starts with you trying to make new friends, because people aren't going to come to you. You have to go to people, like, especially when it comes to dating and making female friends. Girls, as a guy, girls aren't, well, most girls aren't going to come to you. You have to go to them. You have to talk to them. Because that's just
Earlier,
not
it is
just
possible to make friends, but you have to make the first step, the initiation, the initiator into a conversation. Because almost everything you want and desire in life lies behind one uncomfortable conversation that you're just not willing to have. Hopefully I said everything that was on my mind. If I'm forgetting something, I'll probably just include it later. How to make friends, guys. I know how to make every friend. This is how you make every connection. So check this out, right? So what you gotta do is, they don't want me to tell you this. So, you know, what you do is you gotta go up to them and you say these exact words.
Alright, y'all, so that was a video on why Gen Z ain't making no friends. Why we got fake friends, but yeah, that was a video. Hope you guys liked it. Leave a like, comment, share, all that good stuff, and subscribe if you are new. And other than that, your boy RJ, I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Deuces.